deponent verbs are like a type of verbs. Okay, they occur in every conjugation. They have every tense. They're just a different way a verb looks, a different set of verbs. Okay, and they look passive, but translate active. Let me say that again. They look passive, but translates active. Okay? So, basically, they do not have active forms in the Latin. Okay? They only have passive forms. So they all either end in some sort of R, ris, tour, right? More, many, intour, or they're like a principal part, fourth principal part, and a form of soon. Okay, or if you think about it on your verb sheet, they only have Latin forms on the right side of their verb sheet, but you translate it like they're on the left side of the verb sheet. Okay, why do we have these crazy verbs? Yes, sir.
Is it to mix the language up, like formal and non-formal?
That's a good thought. That's a good thought. I think that it's because they needed some way to have verbs that like had some sort of that demonstrated an action that you were doing to yourself or something like that. So look at these examples in the middle. Okay, we got I hurt the quarterback. Who's doing the action there? You are hurting somebody, right? Okay, what about I was hurt by her remark? This one's active, right? Okay, I was hurt by her remark. That's passive, right? What about I hurt? Well, who did I hurt? You hurt yourself. You're right, you hurt yourself. So, it kind of, you're not hurting somebody other than yourself. Does that make sense? You're not being hurt, so it's like somewhere in the middle. It's one of those weird grammar things. Okay. Okay, so let's look at what they look like if you looked them up in the dictionary. Okay, so if you looked up a deponent verb in the dictionary, this is what it would look like. Okay, what's the first thing that you notice? It only has three principal parts, right? So if I was like some other random first conjugation verb like amo, okay, it would be like amo, amare, amawi, amatus, right? So it's missing kind of this fourth principal part right here. Okay, what's the other thing that you notice about it? They all have what kind of endings on them?
Passive.
They all have passive endings. Do you see how this R, like it's R, ris, tour, more, many, in, tour? Do you see how this is the present passive infinitive ending? So ARE becomes ARI. Remember that way back from chapter 31? Do you see how this is the fourth, what should be the fourth principal part and a form of soon? Does that make sense to you? Okay, so these guys are doing the same things that amo, amari, amawi, amatus does. They just look passive. Okay, so let's talk about what they do. So what would this one be? What would conor be? First person, right? Singular. Present. Okay, and it means try. So this would be what? I try. What's conari? Conari's the the present infinitive, right? Does it tell us what conjugation it is?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, and you're going to say it means to try, right? Why doesn't it mean to be tried? Because they look, what? Passive, but translate active. Look, passive, translate active. Okay, this third one is the first person, right? Singular, perfect tense, right? So this would be what? I tried. So do you see how all these suckers translate the same way as, like, a mo would be I love, to love, I loved? Does that make sense? Okay? But they look passive. That's what I mean by look passive translates active. Okay, so look down here at these suckers down here at the bottom. Okay, this should be the same list as your 37B vocab list. I have forgotten that I made 37B the deponent verbs list. So we're not going to have the 37B quiz tomorrow. When I have deponents quiz, it's going to be on Thursday.
So nothing tomorrow?
No, we're going to do something tomorrow, just not take a quiz. Okay, so if I look at this, how do I know what conjugation a verb is? Yeah, look at the second principal part. Now, if I were me, I would make myself a handy little chart here, okay? And write like present active infinitive, right? Because that's what tells, right? Present passive infinitive, right? Let me make myself a little chart over here, like first conjugation, second conjugation, right? Third conjugation, third IO, and fourth, right? Okay, so let's fill in the ones that we know. So those are ARE, right? What's this one? ERE, ERE, right? That's what it would look if it was just a regular verb, right? Okay, now we got to put our thinking caps on way back to chapter 31 and think about what do present passive infinitives look like.
They have like, if it's like a or first or second, you just
Yeah, you just drop the R. You just drop the final E off, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's going to become ARI. Okay, do you see how that corresponds to this one? Does that make sense? Okay, so that's how I know that this one's first, this one's first. Okay, what about ERE becomes ER? ERI. Okay, so which ones are second? This one right here, right? Does that make sense? Okay, then what about thirds? It's just, you chop off the whole ERE and add an I, right? Okay, so do you see how, I gotta switch to a different color here. Okay, so do you see how these just have an I? Does that make sense? Okay, so this is second, this is third, this is third, this is third. That's third. That's third. That's a lot of thirds, isn't it? And then the last two are, these two are third IO, right? Okay, what about IRE becomes what? Oh yeah, IRI, right? Okay, why do I care what conjugation a verb is? It doesn't affect how you translate it. No, what does the conjugation tell you? What? Yeah, what tense it is, right? Because you think about like the imperfect tense, right? Remember Miss Purcell's song, all imperfects have a vowel, A, E, E, I, E, I, E? So knowing what conjugation your verb is helps you know the right vowels to put in the right tenses. Okay? So all of your deponent verbs are going to have these kind of infinitives. Whoops, I didn't mean to make it so dark there. Are going to have these kind of infinitives right here. Okay? But you're going to translate them like they're active. Okay, now think about this. Do we know another word for to speak? Yes, right, deco, right? Do we know another word for to be afraid? Yeah. Okay, this is just a different type of word. Okay. So let's look on the next slide here. Okay, so let's use our knowledge of page 2 to help us do page 3. So if a regular verb in first conjugation looks like amo, amare, amawi, amatus, what can we write an example of a deponent verb from that list on page 2? What would you write? Konor, right? Konari, konatu. What about second conjugation? What would you write? Okay, what about third conjugation? What would you write? My favorite one is low core. What about third IO? We've learned the perfect passive participle. So the perfect passive participle is what? It's the fourth principal part of the verb, right? And you translate it as having been verbed, right? Remember that from way back in chapter 33? Okay, so since the deponent verb doesn't have a fourth principal part. See how it only has 3 principal parts? Since it doesn't have a fourth principal part, you're going to get what would be the perfect passive participle, except it's now the perfect active participle because you're going to translate it actively. Where do you think you would get it? What looks like the fourth principal part? Yeah, this konatus, right? Okay, so the perfect active participle is just the first part right here of this third principal part of the verb. Okay? So instead of translating it as having been verbed, we're going to translate it as having. Okay? To me, this is the hardest part. Why? Because you see it in the wild like that. Like, look at these suckers down here. You see it in the wild like that? Are you going to know its deponent unless you know your vocab? No. So that's why knowing your vocab becomes really important. That's why we're not going to rush through it and have a quiz right tomorrow on it. Okay? Really important. Okay, let's look at imperatives. First of all, what is an imperative? An imperative is it's a command, right? Okay, if you were a regular verb, how would you do an imperative? So throwback to Latin 1. Yeah, you chop off. I think you just chop off the RE, right? And then the plural, you add te to the singular. Remember that? Okay, imperatives. The singulars look like the present infinitive. You can't really see it right here. It's really conare. See how that looks like just a regular infinitive, right? And then the plural is many. Okay, here's how I remember deponent imperative. So, prostitutes in ancient Rome. Okay, prostitutes in ancient Rome wore yellow togas, right? Prostitutes in ancient Rome, especially in cosmopolitan cities like Pompeii, right? Everybody might not speak. I mean, they advertised, but like they didn't like advertise. Okay, so a lot of times prostitutes on the bottom of their shoes, like on the soles of their shoes, would write the words "sequere me," which means what? Follow me. Why would they write that on the bottom of their shoes?
It would be in the dirt.
Well, not necessarily be in the dirt, but like if you're following along behind them and you see sequere me, what's that going to do? It's going to like advertise for them without really advertising, right? Little trivia fact there. Okay, look over to the next page. Con or to try, more or delay, and wary or to fear. Collab or collapse, conseque or catch up, deponent time is here. Loque or to talk, profit, kiss or set out, to follow is sequor. Go ex and re with gradior, and test with experior. In the space before each verb on the left-hand column, write the letter of the verb in the right-hand column that has the same or nearly the same meaning. Okay, so what should we do here? What do you think we should do here first? I think we should go through and say translate the numbered ones. Don't you think we should? Right? Okay, so let's look at this one. Intra-whereat. What does that mean? That erat tells me that it's pluperfect, right? So it's he had. Yeah, he had entered. That's really small. Okay, what about dixit? It's what? Hold on, I'm going to have to write it over here. He what? I think it's said. Dukes yeah. Okay, what about discadit? Okay, I'll tell you that this one's third, so that et means that's future, right? So it's he will depart, right? Okay, what about timid? They, yeah, are scared. Okay, what about intravistus? Yeah, y'all entered. Okay, what about disconsisting? Yeah, y'all departed. Well, I think it's just you departed. Yeah. Okay, temptaweran is they tried, right? Manebam is what I was remaining. Intratus is you enter. Monseramus is we had Remained, yep. Okay, Deacon is you say. Tamui is I feared, right? Whoops. They try. And we were, I think it's speaking. Okay, so how am I going to match these suckers over on the right with these verbs on the left?
How do you do under the ending?
Yeah, I'm going to look at the endings. Okay, let me switch colors here. I'm going to look at the endings. Okay, so if you want to get out your verb sheet, that might help you. Look on the right side of your verb sheet. That's where the endings are going to come from. Okay? Okay, so let's look at, let's just go with, let's go down the right side and see if we can match them. Okay, so proficiscator. Okay, proficiscator means what? Look over there on the left-hand side of the page. Set out. So that's kind of like depart, right? Yeah, so it goes to number 3. You're right. Okay, what about loque bamor? Okay, the more tells us that it's, well, loquor means to talk, right? And the more says we. Okay, so which one do you think it goes with? 14. Good. Okay, profectus est. Yeah, you set out. You set out. Yeah, number 6. Good. Okay, bar. That R tells us that it's I, right? I was, yeah, staying, so it's the same as 8. Good. Okay, what about ris means you, right? Yeah, you talk. Which one is that one? Oh, 10, right? Oh, sorry. Yep, 11. Okay, ingressus erat. Number 1, good. Okay, whereuntor is number 4, I think, right? Okay, what about experti? Experti means to test or try. And it's they. So which one would you pick? 7. 13 is present tense. Okay, what about locutus est? 2. Okay, what about fear? Where's my other fear one? 12, right? Stay, that's K, right? Ingradior is ingradimini is L. Hold on, I'm left with one.
Where did
N and N. I think that's right.
where did